So guys, just like I promised, part one was a blast. The reason why we split it up was because the conversation was just going. We clearly was vibing on a multitude of different topics. Many of those topics is going to add a lot of value for small business owner, people who are trying to get out the 9 to 5 rat race. So without further ado, let's get on with part two of this episode, guys. So again, I hope you guys enjoy.
Welcome to the Sun Island.
Digging in now, more on that legal side, because we kind of dig into mindset, which we all need, right? Mm-hmm. Now you're in your legal profession. What are the most, or what area of law do you mostly focus on?
So I personally focus on real estate, having the real estate background, and business. I mean, I like business. I don't know how to explain it. I love business. I love contracts. I like the negotiations. Like, I love all of that stuff. It's fun. So I do business and real estate and estate planning. Estate planning because a lot of times, especially entrepreneurs, we don't think of what happens if we can't do something or if we're not able to take care of certain things. So we don't always plan for our family, kind of like you mentioned. A lot of immigrants just think, God is in control.
True.
Like, yeah.
No, I get it.
God
you don't
is,
have to explain.
but you kind of have to do something
it's
else.
It's like the story where the guy was drowning. I don't know if you heard it. And
well, I don't know if it's the same story.
The guy was drowning in the middle of the ocean, like his boat broke down, and two ships came by. It was like, God is going to help.
Right.
God is going to help. By the second ship came by the third, there was no ship. Right. He died, and he went to heaven and asked God,
but he didn't help me.
He didn't help me. Right? So I get it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's the same thing. It's sort of that. So my personal focus is business, real estate, and estate planning. What I have noticed over the past 3 years of having my law practice, however, is that sometimes, not always, sometimes it's hard for people to get excellent legal representation with good customer service and a collaborative approach. And I say collaborative in the sense that sometimes people that are providing services feel like they are, no shade to any industry, feel like, we know so much and we know what we're doing, therefore we don't need to treat you, the customer, in the same way. And I've heard stories. I've had a client come into my office and they were leaving a lawyer and they're on the phone and the lawyer's like, don't call me. Like, just things that you're like, wow, this is how people treat people. That's kind of forced me to grow my business in a way. So I've hired a couple of attorneys and we're going to do family and criminal. One person is going to manage family and criminal and the other is going to manage bankruptcy and immigration, but also all based on the foundation of what my core values are, which is really customer service and representation and professionalism, and really trying to make sure we aim for exceptional service. So I used to focus on one thing, but now we're growing. We're growing, same core values, same type of business, same energy. So even if you come into my office, you'll feel the same thing. Kind of like you talk to your team. I want my team to be able to have that same drive to provide excellent service to people. Yeah. I think it's a privilege to be in a position where we get to help people handle their problems. And I don't take that lightly. So that just means how we operate, how we treat you, how we talk to you. We're going to make sure that we take care of you.
Absolutely. Yeah. That is definitely a blessing. So now we're going to kind of, in business, still same the law type stuff. Mm-hmm. Now you're kind of in a transition phase, it sounds like
growth phase.
Growth. Yeah. When I mean transition, growing, right? Yeah. Like one of them level ups phase. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because as a small business owner, I'm in that phase as well. I think I'd mentioned to you at one point that I'm in talks with a very large solar installer in the company in the US, and we're talking to them in order for me to become like a subcontractor for installation, because I got the sales part down. Yeah. I think I got, not like down, there's always room for growth. That part is good. But now I get to be a subcontractor, like a construction business practically, right? So that is open me up to actually think as a business owner. As much as I've been in business for a while, I think this transition is actually creating that for me. A lot of people don't understand that being what an entrepreneur is and what being self-employed is. You want to give your point of view on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And most business owners are self-employed, right? You're still working in the business. You're still the one who makes the money. If you don't show up, there's no money made. The second you're able to go away from, and that's still a job. So it's just a job. It's a different sort of boss because you get to be your own boss, but you still have a job. When we move from that space of being self-employed to full-on entrepreneurship is when you're actually creating companies and things that can function outside of yourself. So if I die tomorrow, is my business able to continue?
Yes, yeah.
Right? If it's not.
Or not even say that. If you take a vacation
Maybe take
to
a
Jamaica.
vacation, right? Yeah, okay.
That's
We can
my
say,
plug.
yeah, take vacation to Jamaica. But the thing with your vacation, you can still call in. You can
know what?
advise
Yeah.
someone.
Oh, you're like some cut off.
Now that I've hired lawyers, sure they're working, but I can still check in. I'm still gonna be like, if they need help, they can call me, but I'm still there. If I'm not there, can the business continue?
Okay, I see what you're saying.
That's when you know you own a company. Like you're now an entrepreneur. You can step away and you have a business that will function and pay you, but you can step away. I think most of us are still in the early phases of entrepreneurship where we are still kind of self-employed people until we're able to sort of create things that function outside of us.
What do you think you get there though? Because it's intense because it's an area that you'll get in, right? And even if you want to use facts and figures, right? Say, for example, you're in a good employee and you're making 150, 100,000, maybe even 200,000 or whatever you're making a year. It's good money, but for some people, it's like they want to level up, even if they're making those high type of six figures. But no, you become a small business owner and you're looking at $250,000 to $500,000, up to even $1 million sometime, right? That can be an extremely comfortable place to be in. And then you can lie to yourself that, I'm working. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
How do you think you graduate from getting that high income, some level of autonomy, to actually make it a full-on business? What do you think?
I think that's where planning first, right?
Okay.
Planning, systems, operations, delegation, those are all things that come into play. Delegation, I can tell someone to do work and take myself out of because a lot of times when you're self-employed, you're driving a car with like 10 steering wheels. It's like maybe you're playing a video game. Maybe a video game is better, but whatever.
I get it. I
You
totally
have
get it.
You have all these things as a dashboard. Your buttons. That's all of it. I think for you to begin to even gradually get there, you need to start releasing yourself from some of those responsibilities. So hiring someone to do something, bringing in people to help manage certain things, creating operations, getting managerial positions that can handle and make certain decisions without you, empowering others to do some things without you. So that way there's a business that's functional and it all doesn't come down to you. If it comes down to you, you're just employed in your own business.
It's crazy because that in itself is a mindset. So that's a graduated mindset from the just leaving it. It's a legit, a whole new mindset. And it's kind of fun when you're figuring out that, my mind is changing.
Right.
Because I landed this contract with a huge installer, right?
Nice.
You know what my first thought was on the next big call I'm going in with? I gotta have a project manager on that call.
Absolutely, because now you know it can't all be you.
It's just like automatically. I know already I'm gonna need a solid project manager. Before I even got to that mindset, it was like, oh yeah, I can handle it.
Yeah.
But I know I cannot. So I'm like, on my next big call with this giant company, I closed the deal. And in my point of view, as the business owner, that's my job. I secure the business, secure the growth, get the money.
Right.
And then I'm like, hey, on this call, I have to have somebody that I can trust who would be able to make good decisions alongside me. So that's great.
Yeah.
That leads me into another important concept of leadership, right? I live by the idea of servant leadership. And I'm pretty sure you're familiar with the concept. You want to expound on that idea, that philosophy, and why it would help or just your opinion on it?
My general opinion is when I begin to bring people into my office to work for me, I essentially am working for them. I'm leading, I'm guiding, I'm doing the business, I'm out of there, but I also have to listen to their needs and their wants and what they need to grow and what they need to evolve. Same with the clients, right? The clients come in, they can say, I have this problem, I want to do A, B, and C. My role is to hear them and then guide them, but I have to guide them in a way that's not forceful. Right? I mean, can I have flexibility to talk about you, for instance?
Yeah, absolutely. You have total flexibility. Go ahead.
So we had a mediation and we're in a meeting and I remember you were like, no, we're not doing this. I'm not going to do that. No. And I was like, okay, how do we have this conversation? Because you're going to have to do something. You're going to have to give up something, but I need to find a way to phrase it to you so it makes sense. In that moment, you don't know what I'm thinking or how I'm just trying to process.
I know exactly what you're talking. You phrased it perfectly.
Right. There's a whole face. I have my game face on, but I'm thinking, how do I say this where he understands what I'm trying to do? And if you notice, to the other party, I was like, no, we are not doing it. Definitely not. This is it, blah, blah, blah.
I told you she's a negotiation genius, man. Let's go.
Yeah, but when we had our one-on-one, I was like, yo, we got to do this. How are we going to do that? This is why we should do this. And then, so you have to understand.
Remember, you're also like, even negotiating that and then come back with me. It's like you were just playing both sides. And it's like,
I say playing, it sounds bad.
Not like bad.
Yeah, I was managing the situation.
Negotiation.
Yes.
I get it.
I was orchestrating a powerful final response on both sides.
Yes. So but that's clever. Yeah. I like the art of negotiation. I like the idea. That's why when you were mentioning like, hey, what's your band? I already knew what your banter was because I like that idea. But so you said figure servant leadership, stuff like that.
You're guiding, but you're finding a way to do it from a place of humility. You're finding a place to do it from a place where you don't feel, or the people you're working with or helping or directing don't feel like you're staring them. They don't feel like you're moving them around. I'm a sales guy,
and I didn't realize I was sold. It's good. I love it. But in a good way. Yeah. Remember, whenever a sales guy said they're sold, it's a compliment. That's what I do. Yeah. Right? To me, because a lot of people misunderstand marketing, they misunderstand sales, right? Mm-hmm. Say, for example, in solar panels, we sell solar panels, right? And there's an obvious threat to humanity, which is global warming. Like everybody knows that. There's also an obvious solution to that threat, which is renewable. So all sources are renewable, including solar, right? I've been in the industry for a long time and I'm super passionate about that, right? So for me, sales is problem solving. Not even for me, that's what sales is. Yeah. And I know that there's a problem of people needing to get this information and I just present it in a way to solve their problem, right? So whenever I give that compliment, but the way we do it, the way we have to do it is have them make decision thinking it's actually
their decision, like when it's you.
So we're talking, I was like, that's exactly what just happened. But but at the same time, it's not like a decision, but it's a decision that's going to benefit every party.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's in my book, that's sales, like flat out, and I loved it. It's awesome. So servant leadership is a great thing that folks need to have. And we talked a good bit about the legal side. You provide service for business and estate planning,
real
stuff
estate,
like that.
Business, real estate, and estate planning primarily. Now we're going to grow to provide family, so divorces, child modifications, child support issues, immigration, because that's just my story, my life, and people have issues and may not always have resources or know who to go to. And then one of us, bankruptcy and criminal. Nice. So areas that we've seen from experience, people have called us for, or people have reached out to us, and I just wasn't doing it because I can't wear all the hats. I am sort of specialized in the things that I do and do well. So what I did was find other people who are specialized in what they do and do well, and use that as a way to grow the business.
Yes. And that's all to do with that growth mindset that we're talking about. So we talked a lot on the legal side. I even share some of my personal experience. And the other thing, I don't know if you want to throw in any 2 cents on this. Anytime you're doing any type of business, make sure you have some type of legal binding contract.
Right.
Is
And
there?
if you don't have a contract, make sure that you state that you don't have a contract.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I was inspired by that to actually say, make sure you're having your text or something. I think I said this to you. This is for conversation only, negotiation matters only. We haven't decided on anything. So that way, everybody is clear that we're just talking. Even if I'm paying something, we're just really trying to figure out until we have something signed, we are not bound by anything.
So I'm not having you talk about anything except maybe mine where I give you my authorization, and I know you would never do that. But like just random stories where is like you've seen and heard some stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. When it comes down to estate planning, when people pass, you know, it's like the devil comes out in family members and stuff like that. Why is that? I think
Why
Why
is
do you think that is?
There's greed. There's always a greed factor, right? Where there is something to be made, there's always a greed factor. I think there's also just human beings are selfish by nature. They're looking out for themselves. And what happens in family situations, everyone feels that they're deserving of something. So if someone passes away and doesn't make it clear what goes to who or how something should be done or how they want their children or heirs or whoever to handle certain things, everyone else's selfish and personal feelings and personal desires come into play. So I think that's a part of it, which is, it's human nature. I think we're all a little bit selfish and a little bit greedy. But when we have to now combat and fight with others to sort of feed ourselves, that sort of animalistic instinct comes out. And that's that's what you end up seeing. And in some cases, it may not even be that. It may just be, okay, someone put away some money for their children, but it's not accessible anymore because it wasn't planned for the right way. The beneficiaries weren't updated the right way or stated the right way. It wasn't protected the right way. So you have minors getting lots of money and there's no trust around it. So there are all these little nuances that come up when it comes to estate planning issues. You work hard, you do what you do because you're trying to provide for your children. You can provide for them, but if you don't protect how you're providing it or how you're putting things away, then you're kind of just throwing the coins up in the air and hoping it lands in the right pot. That's where estate planning comes in. It's to plan your estate, to provide, to give clear instructions, give directions so that people don't have to second guess what you wanted to do.
So having a good estate planning in effect is going to be very important for anybody that's going to leave anything at all
To someone.
Yeah.
And
that I would imagine that would be for like your business or anything. So
entrepreneurs, definitely have conversations about how to tie in your business or business proceeds or profits or something to estate planning, especially when businesses have multiple partners in it, right? I was talking to I have clients come in, you have 2-3 partners in the business, they want to just form the business, let's go. I'm like, great, you formed an LLC, now what? I always try to bring up conversations that are more than just we formed a business. We have a business, great, we're business owners. What happens if one partner is unable to work? They're now in the hospital, they're in a coma. Like, what happens? Do they get paid? Do you put the money away? Do we plan to give it to their beneficiaries? Have they set up or mentioned their business income or proceeds in their estate plan? If no one knows what side businesses and what other side hustles and things they have, will the family ever know that they have money invested somewhere else? So those are part of the conversations that I try to have with my clients that's just beyond one aspect of something, because you could come in for business and in that conversation we're talking about your real estate or real estate investments or something else. In the same conversation we're talking estate plans and what trust you need to put in place and how do you plan for your family and your kids and stuff like that. So I think they're all sometimes interconnected. Not everyone sees it that way, but I think they are. And I think with the immigrant mindset, you come in here, we work our butts off. We're working so hard so our kids wouldn't have to work as hard, right? But part of that is how do we prepare and plan for them? What do we put away for them? I'm not a financial person, but in the estate plans, I mentioned, okay, are you going to have UTMAs? And be like, what is that? Like, do you want to put some proceeds away for your children? You want to put some, not just a trust, but proceeds. Yeah, you have 529s for college, but you can put away something. You can do dividend, stocks. I'm not a financial advisor, but they're just common things that you can just do to help children. So in the next 15, 20 years, they're not starting where we started off. They have, a little bit
legacy
more
building.
Something. Yeah. So I try to make my conversations a bit more comprehensive.
So that's very comprehensive, because a lot of people figure that if they pass, they have a will. What is that?
Yeah.
And
a will gives direction. A will gives direction. It's good. It says, this is the road. This is where to go. This is where I have some investments. This is where I have, some insurance. This is the house. This is this. This is that. That's what a will does. And then it says, oh, all this stuff here, you take it, you don't take it, you get half, you get third, whatever. It gives instructions. It's a good roadmap. But there might be something else needed depending on where those things are, right? Depends on what's at the end of the road. If at the end of the road we have an insurance, and you have insurance that you've purchased, do we have the beneficiary set up the right way? Is the beneficiary a person or a trust? If it's a trust for a minor, if it's a minor, do we have guardianship set up so that someone can take care of that minor should there be an instance where you're not available? So it becomes this web of conversations that we need to have, not just, oh, yeah, we did this, great. All these other things that are out here. Do you want to do it? Do you want to take care of it? Do you want to plan for it? And how do you do that?
Or you actually plan and get stuff together.
Yeah. And because with a will, once a will is done, I mean, sure, we get the basic estate plan in place. And once someone passes, then we got to go to probate. Probate means we go to court and say, hey, we have a roadmap. Help us say that this roadmap is valid so we can go share what we need to share. That's cool, but it's a process. You now got to tell the state about your roadmap. What happens with a trust, however, is my family, we all say, okay, Grandpa put this trust in place. He gave us the roadmap. He told us how to do it. We don't need to talk to the courts.
Wow.
Hey, court, we have a roadmap. We know what our plan is. Grandpa already told us what to do and how we're going to do it. Thank you. Okay, move forward, and that's done.
So no legal fees.
No legal fees, nothing. Yeah, you don't get to involve the court. You just you can say, we got it. We're good. Okay. So there are things, and depend on, of course, how much assets you have, what you want to build, how you want to build, how you want to structure. All of that could be set up.
Some people figured, I don't know, some people figured is a size, like how much income you're making or whatnot, would want you to venture out into protecting it, right? But
yeah, sometimes, if you don't feel you have a lot of stuff to protect, then you wouldn't feel as inclined to protect it, right? But I do believe you can still give someone a roadmap.
Right, at least.
You can at least give the roadmap. So, and then as you grow and as you have more things, you can then determine, how you want to protect those things.
Then while you were giving a lot of advice, because, a lot of people are getting a lot of knowledge, and that's, we talked about trust and put your stuff in the trust. You don't have to keep going to a probate because that can be costly time-wise and money probably. But these days, everybody's an expert.
Of course.
Oh, TikTok. My word.
In the TikTok world.
Everybody's an expert. No, I feel very happy I'm sitting across from an actual, expert. Like in the
still
field.
learning, but yes, I am in the field, but there's always something to learn.
And the state tell you that, yes, you can legally do X and apart from the simple fact that you know your stuff, right?
Yeah.
So expert. Let's leave it at that, okay?
Okay.
What are some of the terrible stuff you see online that people are trying to talk about in your space? Because it's out there. What are some of the stuff that you probably see that you say, hey, that's out there, but maybe or maybe not? You want to talk to a legal specialist before you even considered what some of the stuff that they're just spewing.
Wow. The most exciting one, or the most interesting one, fascinating, however you want to put it, is the whole LLC formation. Everyone can form an LLC now, and that's great. Not everyone remembers to do a PLLC for professional services. That's step one. Everyone forms an LLC, then they want to do your EIN for you. They don't always. I've had this happen. Someone come in, I have an EIN. I'm like, no, you don't. They're like, oh, I do. I'm like, no, you don't. I'm like, oh, I paid this, so how much? This is how much I paid for it. It's like, well, technically, you don't pay for the EIN. You pay for the service, but they charged you for the EIN and charged you for the service too, and you still don't have an EIN because they didn't use your business to set up the EIN. So they use you as a sole proprietor, not the LLC, because they didn't form an LLC for you. Or they did, no, but they formed it after the EIN, and that doesn't make any sense. So there are things that happen, and you're thinking, wow, this is amazing. But everyone's a service provider. Now you have the online programs, they'll do the EIN, do your stuff, file your LLC, and tell you your business is good to go. Great. Do you have an operating agreement? Not really. I'm like, okay. Oh, I could pull something up from the internet. Sure. For a sole proprietorship, sure. You can go put something together. No one is going to come challenge you. But if you have a partnership and you're trying to use a standard document off the website without really talking about the nuances and details and what certain things may happen and how things could be applicable, then you're just sort of, you have nothing. Let's just consider it, you have nothing. So it's always interesting to see those ones because I'm like, okay, great. We can start from there. Or contract documents that they download and say, yeah, we negotiated this. I have a contract. I'm like, okay, what's in the contract? Well, I don't know. They drafted it. I'm like, did you negotiate any part of it to actually protect yourself?
Yeah.
Well, they know what they're doing, so they drafted a contract. I'm like, cool. So we look at the contract and you have not protected yourself in any way.
So
Like zero.
when I was starting my LLC, obviously I didn't know, like I just say I wanted an LLC, but I'm just going to kind of put it out there and, you can just kind of comment on it. Because of the folks that were in the space at the time, they were doing like a Delaware LLC. So, I don't know, I'm just talking, just Delaware LLC. So I went and got myself a Delaware LLC.
And got a registered agent in Delaware. And got a registered agent in Delaware.
Yes,
Yeah.
I used Harvard Business Review. That's the service that I ended up using to get the Delaware LLC. But there was some things that I was reading at the time that I figured would be good for me to get a Delaware LLC. Is there any true benefit to getting that versus just had gotten an LLC here in Texas?
I mean, it depends on what you're trying to protect, right? So some people say, oh, the LLC maintenance in Texas. Texas is actually very good for business, but they say, oh, well, it's less maintenance, it's less paperwork. I think Texas requires a franchise tax filing. Franchise taxes are kind of zero if you're under $1 million, which most small businesses are. That's the one thing, like, well, Delaware, you don't have to do this, you don't have to do that. I'm like, what else do you do? Unless you're a major corporation.
I see,
and we're
that
talking
got
about
me.
numbers.
That actually
What are
got
you
me.
like? What else are you doing?
There's
Like
nothing
your
different.
business, unless if you hit $1 million, sure, then we can start thinking about strategically planning and structuring a move. Oh yeah, well, you're gonna hit $1 million in 2 years. Fantastic. So where's the business plan that actually supports that?
Yeah.
That we're going to do that. Well, yeah, I mean, there are some people who say, well, we want it to be an anonymous LLC because I would don't want my name to be there. I'm like, but in this day and age, I mean, ChatGPT can find you. Like, what are
Right,
you?
everybody.
What is it? What are you hiding from? There's just all these ideas and concepts, and when you challenge it, it's so baseless. You're like, sure, you want to go do Delaware, you want to do Nevada or Wyoming because you want an anonymous one and it's less paperwork and it's this and that. I'm like, okay. Then you ask, what's your business model? What's the plan? How are you going to execute? And there's not much thought over there. It's like those are the things that help you determine sometimes how you want to structure what you're trying to protect or provide or hide. Well, you want investors and you want to do shareholders and Delaware corporations. Sure, corporations and shareholders, that may be something that's beneficial because it makes certain processes a little easier. But until we actually know what is where your business is, when we start talking about shareholders and multiple, everyone has grand ideas and the grand vision, but when we talk about execution and how are we planning for that, it's not always.
For me, I was just following what I saw people doing.
Right.
I was like, okay, this is what they're doing. And I figured it allowed more flexibility to have my reps in different states working.
You have to do you have to sort of do a foreign entity filing.
I just did that for Louisiana.
Okay, that's what you have.
I just did that.
And wherever you're situated.
And I had to have a statement of something of fact for Texas because I had it in. Because I was doing the Delaware, now I'm in Texas. I still have to do franchise taxes for Texas. So it's like open a business here anyways.
Yeah.
And I didn't even knew that for 2 years because I was a solo entrepreneur for 2 years. So when I actually have the business now, and I went to get an additional bank account, they were like, well, your LLC is not operational. I'm like, what?
So what's going on?
And that's how I found out that I actually have to pay taxes in Texas. Even though
operating.
But you live and you learn because now I know I'm moving into Louisiana. I already got everything set up. to the best of my knowledge, probably you could tell me a little bit more that I need.
Right. But at least you have your foreign entity filing over
did.
there to establish that you are going to be operating over there. And now you have to kind of keep up with what their filings and their requirements are.
And I already have an idea that I
So
need to,
whatever state you're going to operate in, you're going to be doing business there. So you need to set up yourself as someone that's doing business over there.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of advice that are out there that's not so good. And I'm glad that we talked a little bit more on the legal side, because for me, professional like say doctors and lawyers and stuff like that who just goes to school for many, many years. I feel like me just talking to them, I'm just kind of stealing some of their information. So I didn't even want to do it. You know what I mean? But I just for the just for the added value, stuff like that. So I'm glad you were kind of open and shared a lot with us on today. So it was an absolute pleasure bringing you on. You've shared much valuable information with potential viewers and everything like that. I'm thankful to even had you working with you, because you helped me save a book of money.
Thank you.
So thank you for that. And so it was a pleasure having you. Thank you again for your time.
Yeah.
Because as I mentioned earlier, like I feel like when I speak to professionals in this type of capacity, I mean, time is money. So you come here as a lawyer, spend like over an hour with me. I'm trying to figure out if I need to go for my checkbook. So it was a pleasure. Thank you for coming out. Thanks again for your time, and one love.
One love. Thanks.
Appreciate
It
you.
was
All right.
fun.
It was.
I
It
enjoyed
really,
myself.
really was. I loved it. I told you I was excited for this one.
Yeah, no, this is
You could
good.
see me like, oh,
It was-
man, I'm kidding. I can't.
it was
Let's
good.
go.